Hi there, my name's Luke, welcome back to PhotoBuy, and today we have something very interesting because we're not looking at one product, we're looking at two, and they have rather cool names. I'd like to introduce to you Beheaded Ray and Fully Headed Bucky. So tripods have always been a bit of a staple no matter who you are as a photographer, whether you do macro photography or fashion photography. A tripod is a man's best friend, or a woman's best friend for that matter, when it comes to photography. And one of the nice features about tripods is pretty much the fact that they just support you through life, you know? Like, you just think about it. I mean, just think of all the times when you've been in a windy situation or you've had to try and stay really still. Tripod's there to save you. And that is why we are talking about tripods, apart from the fact that they also sent these to us. But that's beside the point. Anyway, Ray, how you doing, buddy? These are tripods that are ideal for whether you travel a lot or you just need something that's lightweight and doesn't weigh you down. I mean, they've even gone to the limit of machining holes into the top, don't worry, the strength is still there, just to save a couple of grams. So these are extremely light, but also very modular tripods. The three-legged thing, they very much like their twist grips, and these are some new ones. They're the O grips to give the user a better grip when tightening and loosening. Now, these are very handy because with clamps, like most cases you're fine with clamps, but sometimes the issue can be that over time, you know, through wear and tear, they can become loose. They're not really supporting that much of the tripod or the weight on top of it, or they could be too tight and they're just a hassle to take apart. But when you start using O grips or twist grips for that matter, they become very, very easy to use over time. And this is Bucky. He's a little taller than me. I'm not going to extend the other legs because then he'll be really tall. But in other words, he's about 1.83 meters tall, so taller than me. But to be fair, that's not exactly much of a competition. It's a bit of a cheap win if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But not only is he tall, he also has some very cool shoes. And by shoes, I mean Vans, and by Vans, I don't mean actual Vans, because there'd be lawsuits. But I actually mean these Vans down here. I'm just gonna put you there. Can you see that? So you can be in the office and you've got these rubber feet on, but then let's just say, oh, I want to go outside and I want to stick them in the ground because I really don't like the ground. No, these are just spikes. So if I remove that, you get a better idea. Those are the spikes there. And these are super handy for if you're going into soft ground, you could stab it in there, or maybe you want to put it on some rock and just kind of pin yourself in place. Really handy, not a weapon. Please do not use these as a weapon. I don't legally have to say that, but I just feel like in a world like we live in today, probably doesn't hurt to mention it as advice. Anyway, moving on. Because as well as being very tall, these tripods can also shrink down by quite a bit. And this is what I mean by the O grips. You really can't beat them, to be honest with you. I mean, you can just clamp them down. See, they're like, I mean, I was so quick, I forgot it had three legs. Moving on. So you can also unscrew the legs here, like this. I mean, I'm doing this in real time so you guys can see how quick it is. And if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, this is the first time I've done this, so please don't be too judgmental. It does hurt my feelings. So we've taken a little backing off there. It's just this little cup here. We're gonna loosen it up here, like so. That pops off. Gosh, that was easy. That might as well come off too. And we're gonna keep that there. So now we've got this dinky little thing, and now we're gonna take the Vans, which are these things. They're just gonna screw into here. But this is just showing you the modularity of three-legged thing, and I don't really see in the time I've tested tripods that you can get this much modularity, because you really can't. This is a really interesting, very limited thing that a lot of tripods don't actually do. Look how tiny that is. 11 centimeters, that is the height of that. Probably a bit more if I'm honest, but that's what they're claiming, so we'll go with it. But that's crazy, and that's still, I mean, let's move on to the head now, because this head is a bit different in a few ways. So this is called the Airhead, but this model in particular, this is a new one. This is called the Airhead View. because you have a view into the Airhead, in case the title threw you off like it did with me. It didn't really. Anyway, so this is actually showing you, guys, come on, I'm working here. So this is actually called the Airhead view for obvious reasons, because you can actually see inside. I'll show you some B-roll, there's a much better B-roll, but you can actually see how the mechanism works, because to be honest with you, it always puzzled me how it worked, and now I feel like I can sleep better at night knowing I can see inside it. Honestly, it's a nice touch, but there's a few other things it can do as well. So they've also redesigned the tensioning knobs, and these actually are really nice. You don't need to move them that much to tighten. So you've got this one to move the main ball head, and then you've got a smaller one that allows you to pan. So this is either good for panoramics or just a quick horizontal adjustment. Super handy, super clean. But this is even more impressive in terms of what it can hold as weight compared to the legs, because the Airhead view, as they claim, can hold up to 40 kilograms, which is like the size of a medium-sized dog or my career as an Instagram model. If you see me compared to Bucky, you know I have a height issue in that department. And to be honest, even if you aren't looking at Ray or Bucky, this is definitely worth considering if you are after a ball head that is strong, lightweight, but I mean, honestly, there's not a single bit of plastic on here. This is all either like, is that? Okay, that's acrylic like perspex, so you can see through, but you don't want glass on there. But everything else in here is machined aluminium, which is fantastic. It has a bit of a weight to it, but you know what? That doesn't hurt when everything else has been shaved down with carbon fiber, which is, you know, pretty cool. But what's interesting about Ray and dismantled Bucky is not only their modularity, but also the fact that they have this neck extension, which when I first looked at the tripods, I was like, why would you do that? I mean, just add more leg. You know, you can't hurt with a bit more leg. And then I figured, actually, if you look at the surface area it's covering, it's very, very small. So by extending the neck, you can get taller without going further out. So if you're in very tight spaces, but you need to get some height, then these are perfect tripods for that. Probably more Bucky than Ray, but you get my point. But what's nice about Ray is how small he folds up. I mean, I've showed you already with Bucky, but I just wanna, you know, I mean, this isn't me racing, this is how I normally do it. I get really funny looks doing it, but honestly, by the time you're done, and by the time they stop staring, you're out of there. So you grab this, you can adjust the different angles like that, and there's nothing in the way at the bottom, so you can get really low, but we're talking about folding here. So you just fold him up like that, fold him up like that, and he's just over 30 centimeters. That's tiny. 1.5, 1.6 meters, we'll get that clarified again, down to 36 centimeters. That's amazing. I mean, getting a tripod that can extend that high and then go down to something that small is fantastic, and definitely worth considering if you don't want to go with tall old Ray, because personally, me being, you know, not 6 foot almost, going with the Ray is more of a convenient size for me. I can extend it. I know the height it's going to be like here, so it's probably about 1.5 meters. So who are Ray and Bucky for? Well, they're the types of tripods where they could be for all kinds of photographers, whether they're into fashion or macro, but the modularity really does make up for it in terms of what you want to do with the tripod, because if you're a travel photographer, you want something small and lightweight, and these are ideal because you don't have to worry about having to take a big tripod with you. And I mean, you could put big cameras on here. You'll see in the B-roll, I put my big medium format camera on here, and I have no issue with that holding. I was even doing it at awkward angles, and it was fine. In terms of the tripod plate, it only works 2 of 4 ways, which you'll see because there's little bolts that sit underneath, and what they do is they actually stop it sliding off. So if you accidentally loosen it in portrait mode, they're not just going to slide off, and then you're left with a very sad face and a very broken camera. If you are a travel photographer, if you are a wedding photographer, or maybe you're a macro photographer, I would highly consider looking at the Ray and the Bucky. Now, when you do ever look, you may see the pricing and think, oof, I would too. But let me just remind you, these are tripods for life. These are not tripods that are designed for, you know, a couple years use. When you buy one of these, it's an investment, but you're also going to be using it for years and years and years to come. Three-Legged Thing didn't build a reputation for making products that didn't last long. I mean, these products go on for ages. You can ask anyone. They are really well built, really well designed, and really thought through. And if you ever look at their other types of tripods, they cover all kinds of tripods. So even if Ray and Bucky aren't in your interest, they do other tripods that might be. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the Ray and Bucky review. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, my name's Luke, this is PhotoBite, and we'll see you next time. I should probably put him back together. Or just... yeah, I'll do it.